For over 4 centuries, the Zerath Dominion was a name that inspired terror in every star system it touched. Their banners burned across nebulae, their dreadnoughts eclipsed suns, and their name alone was enough to force whole civilizations into submission. The galaxy kept count. 164 campaigns, 164 victories. Entire empires had vanished, their histories erased and replaced by the iron rule of the Dominion. Their admirals were regarded as gods of war, their fleets invincible. Every defeat their enemies suffered only strengthened the myth of their supremacy. The Dominion's citizens believed themselves chosen by destiny. To them, war was inevitable, and victory was their birthright. When Earth entered their gaze, the Dominion expected yet another conquest. The planet was a late bloomer in the galactic stage, only recently discovered through its growing signals, in the void. To the Dominion, humanity was an upstart species, naive, stubborn, and blind to the inevitability of subjugation. The Dominion's ultimatum was simple: submit or burn. But humanity's answer was silence. That silence insulted the Dominion. They laughed at the audacity of Earth. The galaxy laughed with them. To stand against the Zerath Dominion was to stand against the inevitable. And so, to teach the humans a lesson no one would forget, the Dominion sent their largest fleet in history. 1,000 warships, entire legions of dreadnoughts, battlecruisers, and annihilation platforms. They expected the conquest to last hours, not days. Their confidence was absolute. When the fleet translated into soul, the commanders of the Dominion admired the beauty of the system. The gas giants glowed like jeweled sentinels. The asteroid belt shimmered in scattered light, and Earth itself, blue and green, hung in the void like an insignificant bauble. "Mark it well," said Admiral Kaler, commander of the Dominion's 165th campaign. "In a few hours, this rock will belong to us, and the galaxy will know our streak continues unbroken." But as the fleet advanced, something strange happened. The humans did not panic. They did not scatter their ships in desperation, nor did they transmit pleas for mercy as other species had. Their silence remained, steady, cold, and calculated. Then the void itself stirred. The first strike came from beyond Neptune's orbit. A Dominion Vanguard cruiser, scouting ahead, simply vanished. No explosion, no wreckage, no radiation trace, just gone. Sensors registered a spatial distortion, but before technicians could analyze it, 2 more cruisers disappeared. Panic rippled through the Vanguard. Kalar demanded answers, but his science officers had none. Moments later, the fleet's forward dreadnought detected incoming projectiles. Simple kinetic slugs, primitive in design, yet traveling at a fraction of light speed. By the time the dreadnought raised its shields, the slugs tore through them as though they were smoke. The ship disintegrated, hull and crew alike reduced to plasma. The Dominion was shaken, but humanity was only beginning. From Jupiter's shadow emerged colossal war machines. Human warships unlike anything the Dominion had seen. They were jagged, angular, armored in dark alloys that absorbed sensor scans. Their silhouettes were terrifying, designed not for beauty but for one purpose: war without restraint. Each vessel carried weapons forbidden by galactic treaties, if such treaties had ever mattered to humanity. Singularity drivers, rail cannons spanning kilometers, and weapons that bent gravity itself. The Dominion tried to regroup, but Earth had studied them. For decades, humanity had watched the Dominion's wars from afar. Every broadcast of their victories, every tactic, every formation, they had recorded, analyzed, and adapted. They knew the Dominion's weaknesses better than the Dominion knew themselves. And so, when the mighty fleet advanced, humanity did not fight with desperation. They fought with precision. The asteroid belt ignited first. What the Dominion thought were lifeless rocks revealed themselves as weapon platforms, disguised for years. Thousands of railguns fired in unison, turning space into a storm of hypervelocity. Death. Dominion destroyers crumpled under the barrage, their shields shredded, their hulls shattered. Then came the gravity traps. Hidden generators near Jupiter flared to life, bending the gas giant's pull into lethal currents. Dominion battlecruisers were dragged screaming into the planet's storms, torn apart as their engines failed. Admiral Kaler watched in disbelief as entire wings of his fleet were erased in minutes. His voice, once booming with arrogance, cracked with desperation. Reform! Counterattack! Show these primitives the strength of the Dominion! But there was no counterattack. Every attempt to rally was met with Earth's brutal efficiency. Then came the weapon that ended all doubt. From Earth's orbit itself rose Leviathan, a human warship larger than any the galaxy had ever recorded. Forged in secrecy, its frame carried scars of countless simulations and hidden wars humanity had fought with itself. It was a vessel built not for deterrence, but for extermination. The Leviathan fired once. A beam of compressed space-time tore. Through the void, striking the Dominion's flagship. Admiral Keelar's ship, his pride, the symbol of 164 victories, was erased in an instant. Not destroyed, not shattered, erased. Matter and energy alike unmade, as though they had never existed. The fleet's command structure collapsed. What remained of the Dominion's ships tried to flee, but there was no escape. The humans did not allow survivors. Every fleeing vessel was hunted, every distress signal silenced. Not a single ship reached the edge of the system. Not a single voice carried news back to the Dominion. And when it was done, there was nothing left. No wreckage, no husks of ships, not even ashes. The greatest fleet in galactic history had vanished into silence. When the galaxy realized the Dominion's 165th campaign had gone silent, rumors spread like wildfire. At first, many believed the Dominion was hiding its victory for some grand announcement. But as weeks turned to months and no fleet returned, whispers turned to fear. Eventually, fragments of data leaked, snippets of intercepted transmissions, images of burning dreadnoughts, and the final scream of Admiral Keeler. The myth of invincibility shattered. The Dominion had fallen silent, and the name Earth rose in its place. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy did not fear the Dominion. They feared humanity. And humanity, silent as ever, offered no explanation. No gloating, no boasts, only the silence of soul guarded by shadows in the void, daring anyone to try again. The message was clear. Earth was not prey. Earth was the end. For centuries, the HFY Empire carved its legend into the stars. Their fleets sailed through nebulae like storm gods, their banners casting shadows over 100 conquered worlds. 164 campaigns, 164 victories. Not once had their armies faltered. Not once had their admirals tasted defeat. They were arrogant, yes, but why shouldn't they be? History itself declared their supremacy. From the outer rings to the coreward sectors, civilizations trembled at the whisper of their name. The galaxy had accepted a brutal truth. Resistance was suicide. When Earth refused their tribute, the HFY laughed. The humans were new, raw, and reckless. Barely a century into spaceflight, they were an infant species standing against titans. To HFY lords, it was a joke told across the empire. Earth shall be our 165th jewel, and their people our servants. They sent the fleet not to fight a war, but to display dominance. 800 ships, battlecruisers, destroyers, carriers, and the legendary world-breaker dreadnoughts. It was the largest armada ever assembled for a single planet. The galaxy tuned in, expecting to watch another swift, merciless conquest. The fleet arrived in Seoul to fanfare across their empire. Streams were broadcast live to billions of HFY citizens. Crews cheered, believing Earth would be crushed in hours. Admirals raised their voices in rehearsed speeches of conquest, but what they did not know was this: humanity had been watching them for decades. Hidden satellites and deep space. Relays intercepted Dominion broadcasts, dissected every battle, studied every maneuver. Humanity had learned something no HFY ever realized. Their victories had made them predictable. The HFY's first wave of destroyers surged ahead toward Earth, intending to overwhelm orbital defenses. Yet as they crossed the asteroid belt, space itself erupted. The rocks that seemed lifeless suddenly awoke, minefields disguised as asteroids. Magnetic charges and stealth drones detonated in perfect synchronization. Entire wings of destroyers vanished in blossoms of plasma, their wreckage spiraling into the void. The admirals barked commands, believing it a lucky strike. They ordered formations to tighten, shields to rise. But Earth had planned more. From Jupiter's orbit, the next trap unfolded. The HFY fleet detected unusual gravity fluctuations, seconds too late. Artificial gravity wells, hidden generators powered by the gas giant itself, twisted space like whirlpools. Carriers and battle cruisers struggled as their trajectories warped. Some were pulled helplessly into Jupiter's storms, vanishing beneath. Crimson clouds torn apart by the crushing pressure. The HFY fleet tried to adapt, but their doctrine demanded rigid formations. They fought as they always had, tight, coordinated lines of fire. Against predictable foes, it had always worked. Against humanity, it was suicide. Then came the rail cannons. From the far side of Luna, from orbital platforms camouflaged in Earth's shadow, the guns fired. Slugs the size of buses, accelerated to near-light speed, tore through the HFY's forward dreadnoughts. One round punched through 3 ships in a row, their hulls splitting like paper. The admirals howled in disbelief. Their fleets had faced plasma storms, antimatter torpedoes, even singularity bombs, but never the brutal simplicity of human weapons. No energy beams, no elegant particle lances, just raw kinetic death. And it worked. Perfectly. Panic rippled through the HFY ranks. But pride was a dangerous drug. Admiral Torvek, commander of the campaign, shouted across the channels, "Press forward, they are weak. They hide behind tricks. Show these barbarians the fury of HFY." Obediently, the fleet advanced. That was when Earth revealed the final layer of the trap. As the HFY fleet neared Earth orbit, the humans unveiled ships of their own. Colossal war machines, angular and terrifying, black against the stars. They were not sleek like HFY vessels. They were monstrous, armored to the bone, their hulls scarred with the promise of violence. And they fought with a precision that made the galaxy shudder. Every HFY missile was intercepted by swarms of AI drones. Every flanking maneuver collapsed under withering crossfire. Human ships moved like predators who had studied their prey for years because they had. The decisive moment came when Earth unleashed a weapon the galaxy thought only myth. The Ares Array, a planetary defense system buried beneath Earth's crust, fired for the first time. A lance of pure magnetic energy arced through the void, locking onto the HFY flagship. Its shields overloaded instantly, its reactors cascaded into meltdown, and in one blinding flash, the pride of the Empire was gone. Admiral Torvek's final words, captured across thousands of channels, were not commands. They were disbelief. Impossible. And then, silence. The HFY fleet broke. Some tried to flee, but humanity had prepared for that too. Warp disruption fields, seeded throughout the system, denied escape. Others fought on, desperate, but their formations crumbled. Within 6 hours, the greatest fleet in HFY history was gone. Not defeated, not shattered, erased. No wreckage drifted, no survivors transmitted. What remained of the fleet was nothing, not even ashes. Across the galaxy, the broadcast ended abruptly. Billions who had tuned in expecting another victory sat in stunned silence. For the first time, the HFY War had been broken. Rumors spread like fire. Some claimed the humans had allied with unknown gods. Others whispered they were no newcomers at all, but an ancient predator awakening from slumber. What mattered was this. The legend of 164 victories had ended at Earth. The HFY War Empire was shaken to its core. Their citizens no longer cheered when the fleet was mentioned. Their vassals no longer trembled in obedience. They trembled in hope. For if humanity could destroy the HFY War, then perhaps others could rise too. And humanity? They said nothing. No declarations, no threats, no demands for tribute. The humans remained silent, watching from their blue and green world, letting the galaxy draw its own conclusions. That silence was more terrifying than any boast, because it meant humanity did not see this as victory. They saw it as preparation. The galaxy would remember forever the day Earth sprung its trap, the day arrogance met patience, the day the HFY War's pride turned to ashes in the void, and the day humanity announced without words their place among the stars. We are hunters. We are ready. The Orash Confederacy prided itself on being the keepers of history. Every campaign, every victory, every enemy broken beneath their fleets was carefully recorded in their annals. 164 campaigns, 164 victories. Their chronicles read like a hymn to inevitability. Each war another verse of triumph, each conquest another step toward galactic dominance. Their admirals were celebrated as legends, their fleets spoken of as immortal. The Orash did not ask if they would win. They asked how quickly, and then Earth appeared, a small world, barely a century into spaceflight, still clinging to its atmosphere like a child to its cradle. When Orash envoys delivered their demand, submission or annihilation, humanity's response was defiance. The Confederacy laughed. The galaxy laughed with them. "Let this Earth be our 165th chapter," the High Council declared, and so they sent their grand fleet. 1,000 ships departed from Orash space. They gleamed like silver blades against the stars, their hulls polished to brilliance. Carriers bristled with fighters, dreadnoughts pulsed with reactor power, and destroyers swarmed like angry hornets. It was not just a campaign. It was theater, broadcast across the Confederacy, live for trillions to witness. The Orash wanted the galaxy to see Earth's humiliation. Cameras fed the Armada's progress, the cheers of its crews, the pomp of their admirals, all projected onto civilian plazas across their empire. Children waved flags. Citizens sang victory hymns. None doubted the outcome. The fleet arrived in Seoul. The broadcast showed the system in crisp detail, Saturn's rings shimmering, Mars a rusty ember, Earth glowing in blue-green splendor. Admiral Zyrel, commander of the A campaign, gave a grand speech transmitted across the stars. "People of the galaxy, behold, today we add another victory to our eternal record. Today, Earth falls, and with it all who dare defy us. Let this be a lesson in obedience." The cheers of trillions erupted across Orash space. But then, the transmission changed. The first disruption came when the fleet advanced past Neptune. A Vanguard cruiser reported unusual readings. The live feed flickered. A moment later, the cruiser was gone. No explosion, no wreckage, just silence. Confusion rippled across the broadcast. Commentators reassured citizens, "A technical malfunction, nothing more." But then another ship vanished, then another, and panic flickered in the eyes of Orash officers visible on the stream. Admiral Zyrel ordered formations to tighten. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed unease. The galaxy watched as their immortal fleet faltered. Then came the sound. For the first time, the Orash broadcast carried not speeches or cheers, but screams. The audio channels, never meant for public ears, leaked into the stream as human weapons struck. Rail slugs punched through cruisers, the noise of tearing hulls carried through internal mics. Explosions rattled admirals mid-sentence. The galaxy saw it live. A dreadnought, the pride of the Orash fleet, split in half as a beam of compressed energy carved it apart. Commentators choked on their words. Citizens who had sung now stood silent. The invincible Orash fleet was bleeding. Admiral Zyrel tried to rally his armada. His final broadcast was defiance. "They are only one world! Crush them! Crush them!" But his words were drowned by chaos. The stream showed human ships emerging from Earth's orbit, dark, angular war machines bristling with weapons no Orash had seen. They moved like predators unleashed, flanking the fleet with impossible speed. Kale fighters swarmed to meet them but were shredded by AI-guided drones. Carriers unleashed volleys, only to be silenced by kinetic storms. The Orash had come expecting prey. Instead, they had walked into the jaws of something older, something far more dangerous. And then came the moment that ended the broadcast forever. A camera drone, meant to glorify Orash dominance, caught sight of Earth's Leviathan-class warship, a vessel so massive it dwarfed dreadnoughts, its surface glowing with energy fields. The Leviathan fired once. The beam lanced across space and struck Zyral's flagship. The galaxy heard the admiral's scream as light consumed him. The flagship vanished, matter undone in a flash brighter than the sun. The live feed cut to static. For the Orash Confederacy, silence followed. No more transmissions. No more speeches. No triumphant return. Days passed, weeks, months. No fleet came home. Not a single ship, not a single survivor, not even ashes. At first, Orash leaders tried to cover it up. They claimed the fleet had suffered technical delays. But fragments of leaked recordings spread through the underworld. Screams, glimpses of burning ships, Zyral's final cry. The galaxy put the pieces together. The Orash, undefeated across 164 campaigns, had met their end at Earth. The myth of invincibility was dead. Across conquered worlds, whispers turned to hope. If the Orash could be broken, then perhaps others could rise. Across rival empires, fear replaced laughter. If humanity could annihilate the Orash fleet, what else were they capable of? The Orash Confederacy itself trembled. Riots erupted. Vassals rebelled. Citizens no longer sang their hymns. The memory of the broadcast, their admirals screaming, their ships burning, was seared into their minds. The Orash had wanted a lesson for the galaxy. They had given one, only not the one they intended. And what of Earth? They sent no message, no threats, no demands for tribute. Humanity did not gloat. Instead, they remained silent. That silence was worse than any boast. It left the galaxy guessing. Was humanity waiting, preparing, watching? Every admiral, every ruler, every citizen now asked themselves the same question: what happens if we are next? Historians across the galaxy later agreed that the most terrifying part was not the destruction of the fleet. It was the last transmission. The image of Admiral Zyral's face, twisted in disbelief, his scream cut short by annihilation. The silence that followed, and the unspoken truth etched into every heart. Earth was not prey. Earth was the graveyard.